The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Our guest is not only smart, but he's got a ton of guts. He's a filmmaker by the name of Joel Gilbert, and he made the case for who is Barack Obama in his film Dreams from My Real Father, the story of Reds and Deception. And right now it is, it's two things are happening. D'Souza's film has outstripped anything Michael Moore's ever made, which does my heart good. But you go way beyond, and D'Souza really can't respond to what you've said other than to try and dismiss it. Before we get back into that, you can go to the website, our website this morning, and I'm going to have Joel talk about his ad, but how they had to struggle to get the New York Post to accept it. USA Today rejects it, and yet this morning, a full-page ad about Mitt Romney and what is he hiding. If we compare and contrast what Mitt Romney allegedly hides and what Barack Obama hides, it's not even a game, is it?
Well, no, there's no difference. I mean, no comparison, because they're asking for financial records of a presidential candidate, and Romney has released a tremendous number of them, contrasting to a candidate, Barack Obama, that claimed that he was the son of a Kenyan goat herder, when in fact he was the son of a Communist Party USA propagandist and Soviet agent who raised him. Number two, Obama refuses to release any of his basic records, starting with the birth certificate, which the one he eventually released we all know has serious problems. And then, of course, he won't release his college records, his selective service documents, which look very strange, college records, state senate records, you name it. It's a closed book, so it's quite hypocritical that we would see a big supporter of President Obama seeking additional financial records from Romney when Obama is the most secretive president with a very deeply disturbing past.
So, I mean, for anybody to look at or compare and contrast, if they said, into what USA Today takes this ad, this Larry Flynt ad, they turned you down. Your ad is light years, well, certainly more in depth. And what all did you have to go through to do that?
Well, we simply went through the normal process with USA Today, New York Times, and Washington Post. We got an ad rep. They were very happy. The representative on the lower level salesperson was very happy to hear that we wanted to make a $90,000 buy. That'd be a pretty good commission and pretty good work. And we submitted the ad, and we got no response. Then we said a couple days later, well, it kind of went up the chain, and now it's sitting with the president of USA Today, and he's looking at it. And about a week later, they say, "I'm sorry, we cannot take your ad. It's not for us." Now that was very strange. We have cash money. We're in a free country. We have a commercial product for sale, number one on Amazon, and they don't want to take our money to advertise a film, which is an investigative documentary report. And when we went to New York Post, they seemed to simply have a very good, I guess, New York kind of attitude. They said, hey, if you want to pay the money, we'll run your full-page ad about Dreams from My Real Father, and they were happy to do it. So it was a big difference, and it shows that maybe only small portions of the print media are not corrupt in that way. But certainly you can see the corruption of the Washington Post and USA Today and the bias that they would take a blatant ad offering cash for Romney's personal records. It's almost as if they're asking for people to commit a crime, to go into private records and enticing a criminal act. I would be very concerned if this is even legal to offer money to find private information.
Well, remember Flint did this once before with the sex lives. And this was in the aftermath of Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, and of course then Juanita Broderick comes forward, and people come forward, women come forward, Paula Corbin Jones. They talk about Bill Clinton really literally as a rapist, certainly as an abuser.
Yeah.
And so in response, then Larry Flynt takes out this ad, and they turn up some bizarre stuff in the lives of principally some Republicans. That doesn't bother me at all, except what troubles me is not so much Flynt, because that's what Flynt's going to do. What troubles me is USA Today.
It's the bias of USA Today and Washington Post. It's the political bias and the censorship to their readers. If I was a reader of Washington Post or USA Today, I would turn away from them and go immediately to other news sources like the New York Post that would not censor the news.
Exactly. They don't have a Larry Flint problem. They have a problem. They have a Joel Gilbert problem.
They have a truth problem.
Yeah, well, exactly. But what I'm saying is these guys who, like I said, Larry Flint's going to be Larry Flint. I've met him a couple of times. He's enjoyable. He does what he does. You know, you know, it's like, a bird's got to fly. Larry Flint's got to be Larry Flint. But it's not the problem with Larry Flint. It's the problem with USA Today.
Right.
They tell you to go up a rope, and they take Flint's ad. I wonder what Flint paid for it, because a full page, big bold letters. I bet he paid $100,000.
Well, you don't know. They'd be very curious to see if they even gave him a discount off of what they were going to charge me. That'd be very interesting. Yeah. I was at the National Press Club about 4 weeks ago.
Let me do this. I'm right at my break. Hang on, please, and we'll come back. You can see, and when we come back after this one, ask Joel exactly. You can look at the ad. Those of you can't, and we'll talk about what the ad says. This is excellent stuff. I'm a huge fan of his. He's a filmmaker, Joel Gilbert, Dreams from My Real Father. It's available at WorldNet Superstore. It's available so many places. You can buy it at Amazon, and people were buying 10 and 12 copies and giving them to their friends. And finally, and I think that we had Corsi on the radio show this morning as well, Joel, and I think this is a huge breakthrough because it's gotten into mainstream press, albeit it's a full-page ad, but it's going to make some people think that aren't treated as USA Today treated you or as the New York Times would treat people or whomever, or Brian Williams or any one of those other stooges, that this really does come through the firewall, doesn't it?
Yes, it exposes, again, in cash money, on the same day, an unfortunate coincidence for these biased journalists that they're willing to take money from a blatant opinion piece from a known pornographer to offer $1 million to people to find private information, which might even be illegal, and they would deny a paid ad for a commercial product that's a #1 DVD on Amazon, which is an investigative report about the real, true history of Barack Obama's family, which shows that the Kenyan goat herder was not really his father, and that his entire life story is a fairy tale. So this is really a breakthrough. Now, I was at the National Press Club about a month ago, and I lectured the journalists, and I accused them of ignoring the journalist's creed. It's like the Hippocratic Oath that doctors have, that they have to be unbiased, honest, and servants of the public. And I said because of the journalists refusing to be honest and obey their creed, that we're all becoming infected with Marxism.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for the life of me, if you're looking, you can't find a more glaring example of why newspapers and the mainstream press in this country are failing, and in fact they are. And tomorrow we're going to pick up a local story here with Barack Obama's, the co-chairman of, getting Barack Obama reelected is the former mayor of Denver, Federico Pena, who was a really questionable kind of a character. And he went on into the Clinton administration to run 2 administrations, and he is now a vulture capitalist. Now, the local guys here have been trying to get the Denver Post to get involved in this story, and they won't. So tomorrow we're going to bring all the players into this and talk about Obama's co-chair, who is indeed putting people out of work. He's a really bizarre individual in the first place. His name is Federico Pena, and yet he also plays out in this, this vulture capitalism. Now, you think that's a story? Nope, it's not a story.
No,
so, yeah,
it's only a story if it serves the political agenda of the extreme far left socialist agenda.
But what's frightening to me is that most or large percentage of people, I can't weigh and measure it anymore, but they don't think there's anything wrong with, they can't see anything or any discussion of who Obama truly is to be marginalized as racist.
Well, I try to tell people that it's not about black and white.
No.
It's all about the color red.
Yeah.
And the man in the Oval Office is following the red Marxist dreams from his real father, who indoctrinated him in this failed ideology of classic Marxism of government control, state-run business, state-run healthcare, that all failed miserably in communist Russia, in extreme socialism and mild socialism, even of the Western Europeans. He's gonna turn America into a bankrupt socialist state, and that'll be the end of America as we know it.
Let me ask, in the ad, because there are plenty of people listening to the radio show that don't have online technology to see the ad. And have you gotten any feedback on the reaction of the ad appearing in New York this morning?
The New York Post, we do have a few emails so far. It is still early. The New York Post is kind of a commuter newspaper, and people pick it up on the way to work and then throughout the day. So I expect a tremendous amount of response by the end of the day. It's also in their national edition. Every newsstand in the country and every airport in the country has the national edition of the New York Post, so you can pick it up in almost any part of the country if you'd like to see it, and we'll have it on our website soon as well.
And we put it up early this morning for people to see it. Now, tell the folks what the ad looks like and what it says.
Yeah, our ad is a big headline in the New York Post. It says, Obama's big lie revealed, in the number one Amazon documentary, and we have two large photos. One is of Barack Obama II, next to his real father, communist Frank Marshall Davis. And the headline says, Barack Obama's real father is Communist Party propagandist Frank Marshall Davis. Then we have an inset box where we say the new film reveals to America who the president really is, his real father, Frank Marshall Davis, that his entire life story and political career based on the Kenyan goat herder was a fairy tale, and that America has been had. We also make note of something covered in the film that starting in 1983, not many years later as Obama claimed, but from 1983, Weatherman Marxist terrorist Bill Ayers and his father, Thomas Ayers, helped fund Obama's education and nurtured his political career. And we conclude and say that Obama is really a red diaper baby trying to collapse capitalism and destroy the American middle class. This is the opposite of what Obama's current campaign, he runs around saying, we want to help the middle-class families, we want to help middle-class families. The socialist agenda is to destroy the middle class. They hate the middle class. They cling to their guns and religion, as Obama says. So by taxing health care, legalizing illegals, giving stimulus to cronies, attacking business, the intention is to tax and regulate the middle class's employers out of business, give away their health care to poor and illegals, and make sure that the American middle class retirement funds disappear into a bankrupt socialist state. And we detail this in the ad.
You're quoted as saying, part of our national publicity campaign, we're talking about the film, designed to circumvent the mainstream media. The media is either too afraid or too corrupt to cover the evidence presented in the film. I think that's a very accurate statement.
No doubt. And we've actually done a couple of free mailing campaigns. Please, no one email me and ask me for a free DVD because it's done by bulk mail, which is very inexpensive. So we've sent a couple 100,000 DVDs, just unsuspecting people that get it in the mail, and we have another 1 million going out just across the country to unsuspecting folks, and we're hoping it'll cause the publicity from the bottom up for people to start talking about it and then force the media to cover it, which they've so far refused to do.
When we come back after this break, I'm going to come back to this statement when these newspapers, three of them, the Post, the Washington Post, the New York Times, and USA Today, which takes this full-page ad from Flint, tells you the ad isn't for us. And I want you to go through the steps, if you would, and how you worked your way into the inner circle and ask them why they would not do it. And in fact, finally, the New York Post does. You can go to the website this morning and see the ad, KHOW.com. If you wish to, we haven't put the Larry Flint ad up. And as I mentioned, Larry Flint's Larry Flint. This is about USA Today. This isn't about Larry Flint. 303-713-8255. Zero res.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.